This week after church, we went out to lunch to the Rockyard with the Lawsons. It had been several years since we'd been to the Rockyard, and it was a very welcome change of pace. I'm especially fond of their root beer, fresh on tap, and the view from the deck was really nice as well. We've had a few good rainstorms this summer, but all of them have been really short. So as soon as this one happened today, I was like, well, let's grab a phone. Let's grab a camera. I guess I have my camera out. And see if we can catch it before it ends. But this one looks like it might last us a little while. Actually getting some hail out of it. So we'll see if it's just a quick storm or how this is going to turn out for us. And here we are 45 minutes later. We're pretty much totally dry. We're getting a couple small drips, but actually that turned into a pretty good storm. Coming in at a ½ inch, so yeah, pretty good storm. Wow, Colorado. I'm really impressed. I didn't think you had it in you. That's a pretty crazy day. Second rainstorm. Dadgum! This is a storm. So, wow, yeah, it looks like it snowed back here. Still getting a little bit of a drizzle. But the big rush seems to be gone. Wow, it really looks like it snowed over here. So coming in at 2.5 inches of rain total, so I never emptied it that first time. So we got 2 inches in the last hour and a half or so. So yeah, pretty good deluge.
Approximately 10 hours later.
So the hail was done by probably 7:30 last night. But we still have little ice patches a little bit everywhere. We even have places where we have 2 or 3 inches still piled up in places. A few of the columbines have survived, but if you saw how many there were yesterday, you'd be surprised. And a few weeks ago I talked about my greenhouse. My greenhouse doesn't have a single hole in it. So the Ohuhu brand will hold up in a really good hailstorm. So with Sunday night's rain, we also get a new sump pump. The old sump pump kind of burned out. So let's get this guy installed. A little surprising when an item so big comes in a box this small, but so be it. And we got that thing all installed and we pumped out a bunch of water, so seems to be working just great. A bit of a Bradley GT update that actually has nothing to do with the car itself. I brought the engine block up to get it checked out. After dropping it off, I swung by what used to be Front Range Spray Painting, the business my dad owned while I was in elementary school. It isn't a paint shop anymore, but it was interesting to visit the old neighborhood. While Dad owned the shop, the neighborhood park got named Pesquinel's Landing, but nobody ever called it that. It was always called Herbie Park after my dad. I remember spending a lot of time in this neighborhood, and especially hanging out by the South Platte River. Some days all I see of Melissa is her sitting in her spot reading a book. But hey, look! A book review.
Well, for book club this week, I read Promchanted by Morgan Matson, and it was about a girl who she and her best friend have been planning to go to Disneyland pre-prom since they were young, and so things kind of fall apart because her who she supposes will be her prom date, breaks up with her. She's not sure how it's all gonna go. They end up with this random guy along for the ride who actually was there at the restaurant when her boyfriend broke up with her, and the two of them run into each other at some point during Disney and walk into Sleeping Beauty's castle and end up transported into another world. So it was a great premise. I felt like it was interesting how they tried to fit another plot inside Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty doesn't seem to have that much of a plot, so there was room for them to add something in there. I liked it. When I was reading it, I enjoyed it. When I went to book club and we tore it apart, I saw a lot more flaws in it. It was more of a middle grade book. It didn't have the depth that I would have loved. It was great to, it just was a little slow in the middle, and I go back and forth with it. It depends on who you are, if I would recommend it. For the most part, I would say you could miss it, but it was a fun premise, so if you're excited about living in a fairy tale, it might be one to explore.
I just finished reading Beauty Beyond the Thorns by Darci Steiner. Although I haven't quite become friends with Darci yet, I think I've only had one conversation with her, but her husband Mark and I have become fast friends through involvement in men's Bible study and also some other church activities that we've both been involved in. Anyway, in Bible study we had a discussion about suffering that lasted several weeks, and at the end of that conversation Mark brought in several copies of his wife's book to give to us. The gist of the book is that there are 30 gifts that we can gain through suffering that really help us develop stronger character that can't be developed quite as well through any other means. There are stories from Darci's own life, ranging from debilitating pain to dealing with the death of her father. And there are also stories from the Bible that really talk about how God works together in difficult times to really build great character in us. And through this book, all these different stories are really weaved together into this tapestry of God using difficult times and pain and suffering to bring about good. If you're going through a difficult time or somebody near you is going through a difficulty, this would be a really good book to pick up. Again, it's Beauty Beyond the Thorns by Darci Steiner. So, more fun aspects of the rainstorm that we had the other night. My drain pipes are cracked across the bottom, and so I bought some new drain pipes and attach them to my downspouts. So hopefully that will help the next storm.
And then I read Twelfth Night by Alexene, Farol, Follmuth. Sorry if I butchered their name. I would say that it had a lot of similarities to Promchanted, which I had just finished reading. It was just done much better. We definitely had a main character, V, who was kind of the shrew. There's a lot of Shakespeare references. Twelfth Night, it's a K-N-I-G-H-T, but you get the feel for that. A lot of Shakespearean names, but it was set modern day. And she's the VP of a student council, and the other perspective we get is from the star football player who's the president of student council, but is kind of focused on himself and what he's doing, and gets injured, and then suddenly is kind of trying to figure out what's going on in his life. And his name is Jack. And Jack's really interesting, I think, because he's definitely having to come to a place of reevaluating his life. In the process, he starts playing this MMORPG, massive multiplayer game online called 12th Night, and ends up fighting side by side with a player that is actually V, disguised as a male character. She has decided to play as a male character because of the bullying that she got when she was a female character. And they start up this unlikely friendship where she kind of knows it's him and he does not know it's her. And at the same time, they're interacting around student council and his lack of involvement in the past and what he needs to kind of do right now. And throw in there that he and his girlfriend are kind of on the rocks and he wants V to help him figure out what's going on with her. So we definitely had depth. We had a lot of questions about the future and who I am. I felt like it was a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend it. It was great to see how it all came together, and there was definitely some unexpected things, and that all made it, more real to today as well. So I would say 12th Night is a definite read.
Friday night, we went to see Inside Out 2 with our friends the Bleekers. It was a fun movie, great company, but the best part for me in particular was having a full auditorium. It's been so long since we saw a movie with every seat in the house pretty much taken.
And just today, I finished The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Now, you've watched me go through this whole series, and The Coral Prince, I walked away not quite sure about, and you maybe remember me talking about the Wicked King and how it had a rough ending. I really liked it, but it had a rough ending. Not that it wasn't well written, but just that I didn't like how it ended. Queen of Nothing just brought it together and made me love the series. I was surprised by it. I thought there was a lot of action and there was some definite growth, and it pulled everything together. I wouldn't say the series is necessarily for everyone. It definitely is not your classic black and white good and evil characters. Everybody had some depth and some good and some bad to them, which can be really interesting, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. But this particular book, The Queen of Nothing, I think makes the first two worth the read as well. I guess that's all the books I'm going to fit in for this week, and we'll see what happens next week.
Hey, look who's home. It's Melissa. She was working today. She came home a little later than usual because when she works on Saturdays, she goes out after work to Fuzzy's to spend some social time with her colleagues.